Hey, so if you're someone who feels like you're not quite aligned with your family, you don't like resonate with all of your family members, kind of trying to do your own thing, and you're still obviously tied to your family and you're navigating that, stick around for this one because this one's for you. That's how I feel about being in my family, and in ways that I haven't even explained to my family. And as you can see, like from me posting on YouTube in 2026, I've been posting online for 7 years, but I haven't, nothing's materialized. Like my family doesn't have evidence that what I've been trying to do for such a long time has actually worked and is actually like carrying me onto like a different path. And I was thinking about like the family tree, how we are all connected, as a family, and we're all like branches, and everybody knows the metaphor of family tree, adding to it with spouses and new people and whatever. But if you're someone who's just like blazing your own trail, you don't necessarily identify with like the family values and the norms and the teachings maybe of that like trunk of your family tree. And I was thinking to myself, like, am I creating a brand new tree? Am I just really far away? Like, what happens? And then I was thinking about it in terms of physics, like for some reason, the idea of a cantilever kind of came up. And so if you're not familiar, in physics, there's something called a moment. And a moment is something that, I have way too many marker colors. I'm just pausing to consider marker colors. In physics, there's something called a moment. Okay. Oh no, the lighting. Come on, lighting. Adjust. Use a new color. All right, so this is what I'm trying to draw up here. Hold on, pause. All right, so I fixed the lighting. Okay, so here's what I drew. Okay, so what I'm trying to basically show is that in physics, there's something called a moment, and a moment is this force that is created. So this is a cantilever, right? Something that is like connected here and goes out here. This is like one of the first concepts I learned in engineering. Okay. A moment is created when some force acts on this beam. Okay. So you have a force, and usually it's like a mass or something. Like civil engineers like study the shit out of this because they build bridges and all that kind of stuff. But all engineers learn this. So I learned this concept of moments. Okay. And a moment is comprised, so M is comprised of force, like this thing, the weight on this arm. Need a better marker system, guys. That's what I'm fighting with right now. Times the distance from the like set point here. Okay. So force times distance. Wow, that's interesting writing sideways. It creates this force that stresses like this point right here. It creates a stress on that connection. Okay. And this is where my brain was going when I was thinking about like family trees and the way we choose to live our lives, and that we may end up living our lives, because it sure causes stress on my parents, you know? It sure causes stress on a lot of people's families when one of the children, whether they were anointed, a golden child or with lots of potential or not, like it doesn't matter. Okay. A member of the family chooses their own path. People in the family, like it can be confusing. It can be difficult. It can be all kinds of different things. So here's what I was thinking was like in the family tree, you have your trunk. This is the family. Okay, we're gonna new thing over here. This is your family trunk, right? This is where everybody has grown out of, etc., etc. And in my analogy, it's like the family values. It's like what we care about. It's what we stand for. It could be, a family business is the center of the business. We're evolved. Don't forget, we're evolved from like clans and tribes where families, royal families controlled certain wealth. Families ran certain businesses. They provided certain services. We're evolved all the way from families who provided or performed a function in their communities or in their towns or whatever it is, blacksmiths, wood carpenters, farmers, all that. Like that's the family that runs the apple orchard. That's the family that makes shoes for everybody. That's the family that whatever. And so it kind of makes sense. It stands to reason that the elders in the family actually do their children a service by teaching them how to exist in the society, right? Take care of the family, take care of the family function, take care of the tribe and the community and everybody around us. We all have a function to perform. If you wandered away, if you wandered really far out from the tribe, you would die. That's who we're evolved from. So in my analogy, there are people represented by branches of the family tree. Every branch, and we'll be genderless for now, but every branch is a person. Every person born into a family gets their own branch of the family tree. I said the same thing twice. They're all going to choose to live their lives their own way. And today, now let's go to 2026, we actually can do that. Like if you don't perform the same function as your parents, that's okay. It's acceptable because we have the means to perform different functions, to get different jobs, different careers, to even change careers. We all know this now. But when you wander really far away from the family, it still causes stress on the family. And this is where my moment analogy comes back. So I'll draw this in red. Pink. Put the wrong cap on. See, marker struggles. I need like a marker holder. At least just put the caps back on the right ones. All right, red, because we're going to compare back to this moment, okay? Remember, moment, force times distance. There's still a stress on the family when this individual does something that really diverges from the family values. And should this person continue to get further and further away, what does that do? It increases the distance from the family because they're getting further and further away from the family. This person is diverging from the family values, the norms, the trunk of the accepted family standards, whatever you want to call it, standards, norms, practices, beliefs, whatever. Like, and again, if you're somebody who doesn't really resonate with your own family, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about right now. The further and further away you get from your family, the more stress you're going to cause, the greater the moment is going to cause on your family. Now, we won't talk about guilt yet, okay? But what is this force? Remember we had force? Because moment is force times distance. So what's this force? Now in, bridges and whatever, it's generally like force equals mass times gravity, meaning like if you just put like a little block of something here, how much does it weigh? Force is mass times gravity. So this force could be many different things. And in the family tree, I think this force is like the influence that this person has. Because not every person who ventures out the same way from their family will create businesses, will touch as many people, will have as much influence in society, right? You can be completely different from your family, but if you do it quietly in your parents' basement, you're not going to create as much stress as the same person or as a person who has the same views as you do, but who's very public and who's out in society letting people know that just because they have that last name, it doesn't mean they're going to do the same things or think the same way as their parents and their family and all that kind of stuff. So to me, this force way out here is your level of influence in society. It's how public you are, all that kind of stuff. Now you take that force and multiply it by how far you ventured from your family, and you get this family moment. I didn't even think of that when I was planning this. You get a family moment. That is fucking funny, because you are definitely going to have a family moment, with all this stress that you've been causing. The other fun thing about this is in materials, and maybe I don't know if I should need to draw another one, but in materials and material science, when you create, no, I'm going to go to a new page. When you press on a material, right? Like just think about anything that you have, but that you bend, right? When you take something and you bend it, you create stress on it, a force on it. Anytime that you do that, anytime you bend something, it has like a breaking point, right? You can only bend a material so much. How am I going to do this? Like, once you create this stress of the moment, this tree, come on, lighting, don't fail me now. Show me the colors. Show me the colors. Obviously, I need to update my writing and showing it to you system. It's a little bit better. It's only a matter of time, right? If you create force and stress on this, if you create stress on this little branch, it's only a matter of time until it does something. And so these materials are either going to bend, or they may just, how am I going to show this? Fucking break, right? Maybe not just break, but fucking break. At which point, your branch is no longer connected to the family tree. So the science point here, that analogy continues, that if you have a very brittle family tree trunk, it's going to snap, okay? When you create enough force on that trunk. Remember, moment here. Moment. Oh, that was the green arrow. When something is brittle, grab it, you snap it, it just breaks, right? Think about like a twig outside, you just break it. If something is ductile, meaning more like flexible and bendy, think of like a rubber or a reusable straw. You bend that thing, it's not going to break, it's not going to snap like a twig, right? In the family analogy, the family can decide how much stress can we put up with before we either deform and remold ourselves and accept that we are now not a straight branch, but we are a bent branch. And this is just how our family tree is. And with this individual that we have raised and that we keep as part of our family, this is what our family tree now looks like. We are a different shape. Okay, this is up to the material to decide. Or this individual has caused us a level of stress, either due to the force or the distance, that has caused our family tree to snap. And this individual is now going to be forced to start their own family tree, all on their own. You're not part of our family anymore because because the branch broke off from the family tree. So it's a, not to get too terribly specific technical with that part of it, but when a person causes stress on their family, the family will either change and adapt to, okay, this person has caused us stress, but they're still part of our family and our family has adjusted, or this person has caused stress on the family and they have broken off from the family tree. And yeah, we could reconnect it, and maybe you could like gorilla glue it back on. We know about Aaron Rodgers going back to his family, like blah 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 blah. I'm not trying to be overly specific. I'm trying to simplify it a little bit. But if you're that person, if you're the one out there on the edge of the branch, and you're like me, that you've wondered, like, am I gonna or am I gonna ruin my family? And I haven't. Yeah, I have thought that. I don't know if I've really thought, am I gonna ruin my family? But I have wondered, like, what's going to happen with my family or to my family when I get to where I'm hoping and planning and envisioning myself going. I personally won't comment on my own family. It's a commentary in general for now. And I can't predict the future. Who knows what's going to happen? The point remains just about like, it's okay, Like, imagine if everybody lived at the same distance from that family tree. Everybody lived, everybody lived this far away from the family tree trunk, if we only had family members here, like your tree wouldn't really grow fruitfully. You know what I mean? Like you stand to grow more fruit if somebody ventures and if people grow at various distances, like there's nothing wrong with that. And, so I'm trying to speak to that person who's kind of venturing. And I don't know if you have guilt. I don't know if you just wonder about this or whatever it is, but it's natural, like that's maybe what I tell myself as well. But in nature, it is natural for things to grow at different rates and blah, 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 blah. And, even benefit the entirety of the family tree, of course. So there's my thumbnail. I think that's my point. I think I'm good. Hopefully you understood my scribblies, and I'll stop there. Thanks for watching.